I'm gonna be showing you all the best charm build in Dig. Let's get right into this. So in this video, it's just gonna be the best overall charm build. It's not gonna be anything specific, like it's not gonna be all strength, all luck, all control. It's gonna be a mixture of all of them put together to make the best charm build in the game. I'll also be doing this in different levels of the game. I'll be starting off with the best build for the very end of the game, a build for the beginning of the game, and a build for kind of like the medium way. Anyway, let's get right into this. So first off, we have this build right here. This is the best build that you can use at the very end of the game. So we have the mythical cauldron hat, the legendary imp horns, and the divine prismatic domino crown. So what the cauldron hat does is it decreases our walk speed and also our haste, but it does increase our strength. But the main reason we have it equipped is because its ability, and its ability makes strength buffs and enchants 20% more effective, which is insanely good. And we get this from the traveling merchant. So the traveling merchant comes back every now and then, and it has a chance of appearing in here for I believe $45,000. So overall, it's not that bad. And then secondly, we have the imp horns, which you get the imp horns inside Mount Charcoal. So right by the entrance of Mount Charcoal, you can go up to this little devil looking dude, and then on the side are the imp horns. These also cost $45,000, so they're not that expensive. The hardest part about getting the imp horns is that you need the magma boots, but I guess if you like equip a glider or something, and then if you run in here fast enough, you'd probably buy the imp horns before you end up dying from the heat from the volcano, so you could always do that. And the reason why we have the imp horns equipped is because they basically do the same thing. So right here, they increase our strength, so strength plus 12%, but once again, we mainly have them equipped for the ability, and it says you lose endurance health faster, but it increases strong hit progression, which is really good. So if you go ahead and start digging, our endurance health is this little heart down here, so it goes down faster, but it increases our like strong hit progression. So if you go ahead and dig like this, and oh, I missed, there we go, it basically increases our strength while we do it. I don't really know how to explain it, but overall it gives you a lot more strength, so that's why we want it equipped, and boom, there we go. And then finally but not least is the prismatic domino crown, and this is what mainly makes this build like an endgame build, because you get the prismatic domino crown by completing the entire journal. So you have to complete the journal for every single place, then go over to everything, you gotta click claim at the bottom, and then you'll unlock the prismatic domino crown. Also, this gets harder and harder to get every update. I actually got it before they updated the game, because in the previous update I had unlocked every single item, but in the newest update they added a new rarity, which is prismatic, and now I would have to go through and collect all the prismatic items if I wanted to complete the entire journal. So now it has become a little bit harder. They also added all these items to the Alona jungle, so that means now to complete the entire journal I would have to get all those items as well. That's why I completed it before the update, so I wouldn't have to do that again. So here it is right here. So it increases our endurance, our strength, and our luck. The main reason I have though is for strength and luck. Endurance, I don't really need that too much, but I guess it does help on prismatic items. But we also have this, the RGB. So this makes getting chromatic items 350 times easier, which is pretty nice. I think they actually increased that. I think it used to be like 150 times easier. Actually, no, I believe it used to be 100 times easier. So having that increase is actually pretty nice. But anyway, the main point of this build is for the cauldron hat and the imp horns to give us a bunch of strength, so we can dig things up as fast as possible. And then we have the divine crown right here to give us even more strength, but also luck on top of that, because we do want a little bit of luck mixed into our build, just so we can get those rare prismatic items and also a bunch of legendaries. But we also want strength in our build, just so we can dig things up even faster, because this build allows me to dig things up in only 3 clicks. But anyway, this is the best build in the game. Now let's move on to a build that's kind of like in the medium area, and that is this build right here. So for this build, we have the cauldron hat, the imp horns, and the solstice spell, which you already know where to get the cauldron hat and the imp horns. But how we get the solstice spell is you want to go to the Alona jungle. So you do have to take the ferry over here, but go to the Alona jungle, go inside the tiki shop over here, and then at the very end will be the solstice spell. So this is the build that I used for while I was completing the journal, because completing the journal is pretty difficult because you have to get all those mythic and divine items, and now the prismatic ones as well. So that's basically what I have right here. So I have these 2 items that increase my strength by a lot, and then I also have the solstice spell, because the solstice spell is actually pretty good. So if you take a look at it, it can have up to 2 luck enchants. So I got SS luck on both of them, so this increases it by 3.29 and then 3.17, and also this isn't percent, this is pure luck. Like up here for an example, this increases our endurance by plus 1%, but this one is just pure and it's not a percent, meaning that's even more. And this isn't even the best it can be, because as we can see, this SS luck enchant is actually 3.53, so that means if we keep rolling this, we could eventually get one that's a total of plus 7 if you combine them together. So that's really good. The hardest part about this for the middle of the game would probably be the imp horns. But once again, I think you could possibly get into the volcano fast enough and possibly buy it before you end up dying. Let's actually try that real quick. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do it, but I equipped some like jump gear equip, like my gravity coil and stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna climb to the very top of the volcano, and then we're just gonna jump in from the very top. Because the thing is, the imports are kind of in the middle area, so that means we need to be as close as possible. You are able to do this without the gravity coil, but I just have the jump coil equipped along with a hat that gives me even more jump power. So once we get to the top of this volcano right there, we do start taking damage. And let me actually equip my super regen coil. I'm not even sure if this is gonna help us, but I need this to go ahead and heal up a little bit. And there we go, we're now max HP, so let's run in here as fast as possible. Let's pull out our glider because it does increase our speed a little bit, and let's see if this heals us. And oh, we were so close. Well, we weren't able to do it there, but I think it might be possible, so you can go ahead and try that out. But if you aren't able to do it, you can always replace the importance with something else. So if you don't have the importance, then there are a couple things you can replace it with. You can replace it with the ice picks. The ice picks you get from completing the journal for Mount Cinder, but only for Mount Cinder. So you don't have to complete the journal for anywhere else, only Mount Cinder, and then you'll unlock the ice picks once you click the claim button down here at the bottom. So you could use that, or if you don't have that, you could equip something such as the tenacity brace, which we'll take a look at in just a second. Or to be honest, you could just equip another cauldron hat, because the cauldron hats are good because they give you like a good solid strength buff. But by the way, the abilities down here, like the unwieldy ability, these actually don't stack, so you can't stack them and have like double the ability. That's not how it works. So you can always do that if you don't have the importance, but this is the build that I would recommend. Anyway, now for a beginning game build. So let's go back here, let's actually unequip all of this. So a beginning game build that I would recommend, let's go and see. For sure, the tenacity brace. And the tenacity brace is actually something that you get from the merchant over here. So the merchant has a chance of selling the tenacity brace for $17.5 thousand, which is pretty cheap for a beginning game player. That's not too difficult to get, and it has some pretty good buffs. So it increases your endurance, but the main thing that we want is the tenacity. And basically this makes it so whenever you have 0 endurance health, it'll jump back up to 50% as a last ditch effort. This is really good for getting rare items and items that are just a little bit too hard to get for your shovel. And also you can have 2 endurance things, so plus 12 endurance and plus 9 endurance. And again, what endurance is it's basically your health at the bottom. Here, let's go and dig real quick. So again, it's basically your heart health at the bottom. So if you go ahead and dig it real quick, here, let's just go ahead and do a couple hits. But as we can see, our endurance is going down really slow, and then since we have it equipped, once it hits 0%, that little bone will snap and it will jump back up to 50%, basically giving you a second chance. So that's really good for beginning game players, especially when you don't have a good shovel, because whenever you don't have a good shovel and you don't have like a lot of strength, this is really good for getting those hard items, because legendaries and mythicals are really hard to get at the beginning. So that is why I recommend getting this brace. This is what I actually used at the beginning, so I recommend getting that. Another thing you can get if you're still struggling with digging are the vision goggles. To be honest, I would probably recommend either the vision goggles or the tenacity brace. Overall, I would recommend the tenacity brace, but if you'd rather have the vision goggles, you can use them. I would recommend either or. I wouldn't really recommend both. But basically what the vision goggles do is they first off, they increase your endurance, not by too much, but they also allow you to see where the next bar is going to be. So as we can see, we have this little icon right here that shows me after I click this bar, the next one will appear right there. So let's go and click it, and as we can see, it appeared right there, and now it will go back over there. So it is pretty helpful. So it allows you to kind of get those combos so you don't have to like guess where the next one is. So as we can see, the next one is pretty close to that, and it can be pretty helpful. So as we can see, the one is going to be right under there, so that means I would kind of want to double click fast, and it is actually pretty nice to use sometimes. So let's just go and click it, and as we can see, we can constantly just see where the next bar is going to be. Overall, it's not too helpful, but it is still a pretty nice thing. I would probably recommend having the tenacity brace over the vision goggles, but you can always swap those in if you want to. Now let's see what else. A thing that we can use that's pretty cheap for you beginning game players is actually the energy apprentice. This is pretty good. This does increase our strength by a solid buff, so strength plus 8% for S tier. So let's go and buy that and let's check it out. I think I actually might already have one of these, and yes I do. So I have one right here, so I think it can have up to 2. Here, let's just go ahead and chisel this a little bit. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you can only have 2, but this is also pretty solid, so this can increase your strength quite a bit. So as we can see, I have 2 S tiers here, and they both increase it by 8%, but the best tier that you can get is SS, which that can increase it up to 10%, I believe. So that means if you have this, you can get up to plus 20% strength, which is pretty good. It doesn't have any special abilities, but it is still a good item to have because it increases your strength by so much. And the last thing that I would probably recommend having as a beginner is the ectoplasm sleeve. So this can increase your control by quite a bit. Like right here we have SS control, which increases it by 16%, and basically what control is it's the size of the bar. So the more control you have, the bigger this bar right here is, making it easier to click. So as we can see, we have a lot of control because the bar is so big. So this just increases your control, making it even bigger, because some of these shovels at the beginning of the game, they don't have much control, and also gives you a 20% chance that an item will turn plasma. So every time you dig up an item, it will have a 20% chance to turn plasma, selling for even more, which is quite a bit. And basically how we get this is you gotta go to the rooftop woodlands, go near the merchant over here, and then just go behind them. You don't need a glider for this, but just go directly behind them and then take a right in this direction, and there's actually a graveyard. And how we get this is we gotta go inside the graveyard, talk to this dude right here, and we have to accept his quest, and basically he'll say to dig up 3 ghosts, and then you just keep digging in the graveyard, like anywhere in the graveyard, until you get 3 ghosts. And after you complete the quest, he'll give you the ectoplasm sleeve. This can be quite difficult to get. It's not that difficult, but it can be quite time consuming, because if you take a look at it, ghosts are legendaries, so they can be quite hard to get. But overall, this is most likely the build that I would recommend for beginning game players, because none of them are too hard to get. Like, these 2 are pretty cheap. The hardest thing would probably be the ectoplasm sleeve, but you can always replace that with something else. You can replace it with another energy apparatus brace if you wanted to, so you could just have 2 of these equipped. I wouldn't really recommend it, but you could, or you could have all of this stuff and the vision goggles equipped. And not gonna lie, I completely forgot where I got the vision goggles. I think it might have been somewhere in rooftop woodlands, but I'll probably look that up again and let y'all know in the comment section, because I kind of forgot where to get these. But anyway, this is the best loadout for beginning game players. This is the best loadout for like middle game players, and then this right here is the best loadout for end game players, because both of these items right here give you a bunch of strength, and the domino crown gives you a bunch of strength as well, but also gives you a little bit luck and endurance boost, and it also gives you the RGB buff that makes getting chromatic items 350 times easier, which is absolutely insane. But anyway, those are the best builds in Dig though. If this video helped you out, please make sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next video.